So at Siemens Healthineers, diversity and inclusion is a way of life and a part of everything that we do. It's not something that we do for compliance at all. And being a large development center in India, we've realized that inclusion and diversity plays a great role in also inducing innovation at the workplace because of diverse ideas, diverse thought processes, even diverse use cases of products, etc., that a diverse population can bring in. If I have to look at the sustainability measures that we have globally in Siemens Healthineers, in DNI measures, one of the top measures that we track and we kind of talk about it all the time is having 30% of women in our senior management roles. And that's a big number, right? We are all striving towards it, and hopefully we will make that happen over a period of time. Even in India, we have progressed a lot in the last year and a half through various measures that we have taken. We have a large development center here, and almost 1,000 plus people out of our 3,000 plus organization here is women employees, which is a great step towards getting a more diverse organization. And I'm very, very proud to say that when I look at my leadership team in the development center, 50% of they are women leaders, which is also something I believe will take us a long way into into building a more inclusive culture and organization. We have a customer services organization. And traditionally, if you think of a customer service organization in our industry, where people will need to be in hospitals, in fields at any point of time, in day or night supporting the customers, it's believed to be a male world. But even in that particular area, in the last 2 years, we have started hiring graduate trainees, only women. And it has been an extremely successful measure for us because these employees have shown us passion, dedication. They're just no less in terms of their deliverables and their commitment and passion than any male employees that we could have hired in these positions. And by doing this, we are just not only building a pipeline of women employees in the commercial area, we are also helping employees and women realize their potential and their dreams in a completely different area, which was never thought to be a female dominated area. So by doing this, I'm sure that we will work towards a much better representation in the next year or so. The other sustainability measure that we look at is engagement. And here we do an employee engagement almost every month where we get feedback from employees. And one of the things that we have introduced very recently is also a concept called self ID, where as you respond to the survey as an employee, you have a choice voluntary to actually talk about your self identification from a gender, age, your personal choices, the kind of support that you need to give at home as a caregiver. All of these are self identification parameters, and you have a choice to talk about it. And what it helps us is when we get the employee engagement data, and though the data is anonymous, it gives a fair idea to us what kind of population has what kind of gaps in terms of engagement. And then we as an organization can really work towards a strategy, figuring out what do we need to do for our women employees versus our young talent employees versus our veterans. So I would say that's the way we have tried to make it much more closer to the business than rather keeping it as a compliance activity. There are multiple initiatives that we have taken in the organization to make this place a more inclusive and a more diverse workplace where everybody is engaged and everybody feels great to come to work every day. I'll talk a few of them. Number one, the employee resource groups, or the ERGs as we popularly call them. So we have employee resource groups for women, which we call the Step Up, where the group of women come together, and our sponsors are leaders at who can be both men and women, and we drive initiatives which can help in women development, their career opportunities, mentoring for them, or all of that. Then we have employee resource groups for veterans, for differently abled people, for LGBTQ plus community, And recently, a few months back, we launched a new employee resource group called the young generation or the future shaper ERG group, which is more for people who are a different generation and they need their own set of people to talk about and also work towards different organization level solutions that they feel that they can solve. So that's number one, which is the ERG. Number two, as an organization, we are very flexible. One example of that is the human centric collaboration as an initiative, which we launched last year to enable a flexible way of working. And this is not about hybrid, this is not about 2 days, 3 days, etc. This is about understanding very, very clearly needs that are unique to individuals and then allowing them to work in a mode which gives them that flexibility. So it may vary from individual to individual, but it's centralized around the understanding of the human needs and also having a collaborative method. Because if you just make everything hybrid, sometimes people lose out on the connectivity that you need in order to come up with innovative solutions, work as an organization. So there is also a collaborative part of it, which means that there are certain events, initiatives, meetings for which people need to come to office and create a collaborative environment which will help us really gain as an organization. So that's number two. Number three is flexible benefits. We as an organization have gone far ahead in terms of benefits. And rather than having very standardized approach to benefits, given the option for people to pick and choose. It's a bouquet of benefits that are offered to people, and they have an opportunity to pick and choose what makes sense for them. For example, if I'm a young talent and I don't think of family insurance is something that I want to really, medical insurance is something that I want to invest on, I can look at a gym or I can look at a gym membership or something else which is a part of the bouquet and is offered to everybody, but people can pick and choose. And I believe that way we cater to a much broader audience in a much more inclusive way. The fourth thing that we are kind of doing as an organization in order to be more inclusive is bringing out different forms of development opportunities for our diverse population or diverse employees. Because if we have to grow people, if you have to build a pipeline, we have to create very unique development initiatives for people to grow in the organization. And the last thing that I want to talk about is creating an environment where people sometimes, you have these unconscious biases that come in the organization. And so how do you really take out that bias from people? By giving them examples, by training them, by discussing real case studies and examples with them. So we did it in two ways. We did it unconscious bias training across the board, but we also had something called inclusivity workshop, where we took the help of an industry leader who is kind of epitome of diversity in a different form. On we picked up disability in this case, and she represents a different form of diversity. And we brought her on the floor along with our employees to make them understand what it is to become inclusive. And this is just not inclusive about gender or one specific. This is about being inclusive in an environment where different types of people can work together. And that inclusivity workshop, which was really standing on the floor, working with the leaders, internal and external, really helped us in bridging the gap of people perceiving that we want to do something in inclusivity, and actually how does it get done on the floor. And this I would call a very unique experience that we could give to people, and a unique experience which I'm sure at every level of our organization people took back something from those workshops that we led. We don't restrict ourselves to just gender diversity when we talk about diversity in a Siemens Healthineers parlance. For us, it is a lot more inclusive, where we look at, as I mentioned, some of the ERGs that we have. We look at every section of our employee population. For example, the veterans, the differently abled people, the LGBTQ plus community. And like I mentioned before, even the young generation. And we look at all of them, try to identify each of their needs, which could be very, very unique. and make them feel more comfortable in the organization. Take steps um, to give them an exposure in the larger Siemens Healthineers forums. Hear their inputs, which is what I mentioned we do from our employee engagement initiatives, and then take actions towards bridging the gaps that they see. And in the process, the whole idea that we have is to build careers for these people, develop them, and also have a forum where the ability to give their opinions or speak up, as we call it, is something that they observe and they appreciate. We create forums where all of these different groups of people get a platform to express their opinions, share with us their ideas, and we, in turn, as an organization, take those inputs and build towards making this place a more inclusive, a more engaged workforce oriented place. Our journey is not over, it's still ongoing, and we have a lot to do. But at this stage, the few things that I can suggest to companies going on in this journey is, number one, this is a long term initiative, and it needs also sponsorship from the top. It will not be possible to drive this if you really don't have leaders across the board supporting the whole cause of why you want to be an inclusive organization and how you relate your business results and your business success to being a more diverse and inclusive organization. That's the number one. Number two, I would not like to call it an initiative because that's a short term kind of effort that you will have to take. I would say that all the initiatives that you need to drive should become then a culture that you develop in the organization. So it's a more holistic approach, a very comprehensive way of looking at every aspect of what you do with people and how everything around that can become more inclusive. So a more comprehensive approach, a more long-term approach are the first two things that I would like to call upon. The third thing, very important, is equipping your entire organization to be able to deal with it, which means that sometimes this is a new thing. Uh, People may not even know how to handle it, and sometimes that becomes a challenge. So, how do you? I mentioned a couple of them earlier, like unconscious bias training, doing inclusive workshops, whatever works for your organization, but bring in initiatives at all levels of the organization to make it much more easy for people to accept it, and kind of take it forward. Also important here is being fair. You still pick up the best talent, you still do the right things, but in a way, also give opportunity for diverse talent to participate in your processes, to participate in your development programs, in your hiring programs, in your promotion programs is going to be very critical. So fairness is a key factor here. Number four is the unconscious bias part of it I spoke about, that through different measures and through different interventions, how do you bring the entire organization together to think in a way which takes away the unconscious bias that exists in the organization? The next thing that you definitely needs to do is create ERGs. Not all ERGs or employee resource groups at a time. You have to go one by one. But ERGs for sure creates a social forum where people relate to each other. They find support from each other. And it also helps us in developing and engaging talent in a much larger and a broader scale to be able to create that base that all of the employee resource members are looking for. Last but not the least, um, you know, it's absolutely critical for an organization to share small success stories also as you embark on the journey of diversity and inclusion. Even if smaller successes are happening in any field, start sharing those stories in larger forums. Recognize the people who are showing the right behaviors and showing the right initiatives. And all of these together will help you drive and be successful in your journey towards being a more inclusive environment.